Having a great chart setup could mean the difference between you having a good trade or a bad trade. This is something that most beginners tend to struggle with, which is pretty understandable because charts are not something that you can easily look out and understand the market right immediately. And this is something that each and every one of us goes through. The first time we're looking at a chart, we're not really sure what we're looking at exactly, with all the lines and the candlesticks of different colors and the drawings. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a very simple and understandable chart for options trading, for stocks trading, and also for futures trading. So by the end of this video, you're going to know how to open a chart, how to read a chart, how to search for a ticker on the chart, how to change the time frame, how to change the chart type, how to adjust the date range, how to change chart colors and appearance, and so much more. And if you find value in this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. This is going to be a big deal for me, and this will also encourage me to drop you more valuable information on IBKR, options trading, futures, and stocks as well. So the first thing that we're going to do is to open up our IBKR and open up our charts. Now you can view your charts in different options over here or different settings here. You can actually view it from your quotes. Okay, in your quotes tab, you'll be able to view your charts. Now it depends on what instrument you're viewing here. These are my current instruments, and like I told you in a previous video, to look at your instruments, you can just or to add your instruments, you can just click on add symbol over here and search for your financial instruments, and you can also show more to look at all the instruments available. So I'm just going to work with what I have over here, and sometimes it's going to take you to options. Okay, but we're not going to look at options, so we're going to click on charts. All right, now you can view it over here, but you can also view it from your layouts. Okay, now a layout will give you a bigger screen. Now what you can do with your layouts, you can first go to your basic trading layout. Okay, this is the default one, or your advanced, or maybe if you had a custom layout, which I showed you how to set up on a previous video, you can actually use that. But I'm just going to use the basic trading layout, and what I want to do is to get rid of all of these other tools. Okay, I'll just delete them from here, because what I want is just the chart itself. Okay, so I'll just delete all of these other tools over here. If you want to see how I set up those tools, I have that on a previous video on how to set up your layout for trading, so be sure to look at that if you want to set up the perfect layout for your trading. So I'm now going to just expand on these, okay, the chart just like this. Okay, and you can see you now have a bigger screen to work with. Okay, now you can also search for a ticker symbol over here if you don't want to be on this current one. Currently I'm on this AMD, so I want to search for another ticker symbol, so I'll just click over here and click for any ticker symbol. This is going to be my recent searches, so I'm just going to go with Apple, for example. Okay, and you can just switch between different tickers right from your search bar over here. You can also search for futures. Okay, you can search for futures over here. For example, if I want to search for NQ, I'll just type there and select NQ, and I'll click on the first one over here. You can also search for ES, which is also another futures, GQ, which is also gold futures, and this is currently the 15-minute time frame. As you can see from over here, you can change your time frame. You can click on that. You can start from the minimum 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes. As you can see, currently it's 15 minutes, you have 20, and you can go all the way to 1 month. Okay, so you can use different time frames. Now time frames are something that most beginners tend to ignore, because the best trades are looking at the higher time frame. So for example, if you want to trade bullish, you want to make sure the higher time frames are on bullish, or on a bullish setup. Okay, if the higher time frames are on a bearish setup, or they're on a bearish move, you want to go short. Okay, or you want to sell, or you want to place a put contract. Okay, that's basically going the down direction or a downward direction. Now this usually works well for day trading and swing trading, not necessarily scalping trading, because for a scalper you might need to look at, for a high time frame, you need to look at 1 hour time frame. If you tend to trade between 1 to 5 minutes maximum, okay, that is actually the time frame of a scalping trade. So that is the difference. That is the reason why you need to use different, or utilize different time frames, especially if you're doing day trading or swing trading. Now another thing that you can do over here is change your candlesticks. Okay, the different candles, you can click on these and you can switch between bars, candles, hollow candles. The default is this one here, which is candles. Now you can switch to bars, which looks something like this. Okay, you can also switch to hollow candles, which looks something like this. Now it just depends on what you want. Okay, let me just zoom in so you can see exactly the difference between the two. Okay, so this is how hollow candles look like. Okay, and then we go back again, you have the volume candles, which is this. So this one basically shows the volume of each candle. Okay, now most people don't really use this. Okay, the one that you are going to be using is just the basic candle. Okay, just the basic candle for charts, or at least the one that's used a lot for charts. Now another thing that you might want to also keep an eye on is the date. Okay, if you look at down over here, we have the date. Now you can switch between 1 minute, and this is going to change the chart. You can see now we're in the 1 hour. It's going to show you the 1 hour time frame. If you click on the 1 week, it's going to change to the 15 minute. If you click on the 3 minutes, it's going to switch to 2 hours. And if you want to view more and customize, you can click on this over here, and this is going to take you to the date range where you can change the custom. You can adjust the custom range. So for example, if I want to go all the way back to maybe March, I'll click on that, click on go to, and this now takes me back to March. Okay, as you can see, we are now, if you look at the cursor down here, let me go back over here to the left, you can see we're in the March, and I can just scroll back to the left, and you will see more of March and how the candlesticks appeared, how it formed and all that. So you can easily just select, you can switch between dates over here. You can also do a custom date over here. If you want a specific time range, you can also adjust it from here, and also the time exactly, the exact time that you want, you can also adjust it from here. You can also move between the months over here. So for example, April, May. So here it stops at May because I've selected between March and April, and I can just adjust it from here by clicking on this, and then I can just switch it from here. So it's very easy to use, and you can just click on go to. It's going to take you back to June or the current date. It just depends on the date that you've selected, but again, you can just customize your date and select a date range from here. Now another thing that you can do is also change the background. If you want it white, you can also do that. The default is actually white, but I prefer the dark background. And in order to do that, you'll need to go over here to settings. Okay, here's where you're going to be able to change or switch between light and dark. So if you want to go back to white, you can click on that and it's going to change it back to white, but I'm just going to leave mine in dark mode. And since we're here on settings, you can also change your candlesticks. So if you want the bullish candles or the rise candles to be green, you can just leave it by default as it is like that. But if you want to switch between red and green, you can switch from here. So that means basically the rising candles will be red and the falling candles will be green, or the bearish candles will be green and the bullish candles will be red. And you can basically switch between that. Also the buy and sell color, you can switch between here. It's only two colors. This is blue and red, so you can switch between the two, but I just like leaving everything here as default, so you don't really need to change much over here. I just recommend you leave it as default as it is. Now another thing that you can do is you can actually split, you can actually have two charts. Okay, this works really well, especially if you are comparing different time frames, which is something that I do, or if you're just comparing two different financial instruments, like maybe two different tickers, two different futures, things like that. So in order to do that, you can click on this layout setup over here, this square that you see over here, and then as you can see, there are different types over here, the different ways that you can split your screen. But the second one is one that you want. This is going to split between two vertically, so you can click on that, and as you can see, now we have two duplicate NQ charts, and you can switch between the two. So if you want another tick over here, just make sure you've selected, if you want the ticker to be here or if you want it to be here, just make sure you've selected the area you want it to be. So currently this is the one that I've selected. You see this blue, it's actually highlighted in blue, which indicates that this is the one that's going to be adjusted if I change the ticker from here. So let's say I want ES, I'll type that and then I'll select that, click on the first one, and now as you can see, we now have two different tickers over here, or two different futures. We have NQ and ES over here. So this is really good for comparing two charts. This is the reason why you don't really need different monitors. The reason why people use different monitors is just to see different charts. But if you already have this feature here, you don't really need two different monitors. Okay, just one is enough. Maybe if you have another, if you want to view another chart, you might need to use your phone, but it's not really necessary. I see many people owning different monitors. it's not really necessary, especially if you're beginning. You don't really need that because you already have this split screen. So maybe if you want to look at a third screen, you might just need to use your phone, which is something that I do. I just open my phone and view the third screen or the third time frame using that, which actually saves you a lot of money. So that is how you can actually do it. I'm going to go back to NQ. Okay, I'm going to have two screens. I'm going to click on NQ over here. Okay, I'm going to take this back to NQ and I want to show you different time frames. So they're both on the 2 hour. So I want to change this time frame. I'm going to select this one here. So this is going to be the 4. Actually, let me just go back to this. So I want to change this to the 4 hour. Okay, I'll click on that. And then now this time frame is now on the 4 hours. You can see up over here, and this one remains 2 hour. So that is how you can see different time frames for the same ticker or the same instrument. So in order to switch back to one screen again, just click on this, and I'm just going to go to one screen just like that. And now I want to show you how you can adjust volume or how you can see volume, because volume is another important indicator that you can actually use because it shows you where the volume is and it allows you to take the best trades. So a volume is one of the best indicators to actually have on your trading. So in order to do that, you can just click on over here. You can click on indicators, and here you can just search for volume. Okay, you can just click on volume. The different types of indicators, but you can click on different volume indicators. So we have this one here. So this basically shows you the volume for that certain instrument that you're viewing. Now in order to use this properly, you want to look at, the higher time frame or the higher bar is one that indicates more volume. Okay, so if the bar is high, that basically means there's a lot of volume. If the bar is low, that is less volume. Okay, same thing over here. So it's going to show you in different colors. The green one is going to show you there's more volume in the bullish candles or the rising candles, and the red one is going to show you there's more volume on the falling or the bearish candles. So it's a good way to basically just see where there's more volume, which allows you to take actually very, very good trades. Usually happens in the opening hour of the New York. That is the 9 a.m. That is actually in the morning. Here in Kenya, it's going to be around 4:30. So that is between 9 and 9:30 in New York, and 4 and 4:30 in Kenya. So again, you can check different indicators. So come back over here. You can just search for volume. The different types of volume indicators. You have the volume oscillator. This one's going to show you a volume down here at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is to remove this one here. You don't want to have many indicators, especially of the same thing. So I'm going to remove this. Well, at least for me, I don't like having multiple volume indicators. I just like having one. But if you want to just have one, you can just basically select it from here. You can see we have the volume indicator over here. You can click on this and then click on remove. And there you go. So we have that removed, and now we have this one here remaining. So this basically shows you if it's down, the volume is down, and when it's up, the volume is high. So that's basically how it works. And I'm also going to remove this one here because I don't really use volume a lot, to be honest. I tend to not use any indicator. The only indicator that I use is VWAP, which I'm going to show you much later on another video. But if you want to look at other indicators, you can just go back again over here. For example, another common one is moving average. So you can just type over here, search for moving average. Now the different types is adaptive, there is double, there is harming, multiple. The one that you want is just a basic, just moving average by itself. So you can select that. All right, and as you can see, you have a moving average over here. Now the way this one works, most of you probably know how the moving average works. So basically, if the market crosses the moving average, it basically means the market is going up, it's going to continue bullish. And if it crosses it, as you can see over here, it crosses it, or it crossed it over here, which basically took the market down. So it basically means the market is going to go down. If it crosses it below, the market is going down. If it crosses it above, the market is going up. So that's basically how the moving average works. And you can also adjust the moving average, by the way. You can just, for example, double click on that and you can select the length. So the default one here is 9. You can select, maybe if you want, okay, many people use 9, but others also use 12. And as you can see, it adjusts, it basically spaces out the moving average between the candles. So the space increases as you increase this. Okay, as you can see, it increases. So that is basically how you can adjust your moving average. You can also do something like changing the color by going to style over here. You can change the color of your moving average. Maybe if you want yellow, blue, whatever color you want for your moving average. Okay, So that is how you can change it. And if you want another indicator, let me just remove this again over here. You can go back again. Another indicator is MACD, so you can search for MACD over here. Okay, this is another common indicator. I don't really use it a lot, but this setup, so I can't really explain to you how MACD. I just hear people using it a lot, but if you know more about MACDs, this is basically how you can find it here on IBKR. So it's going to show down over here. Another indicator that people use is RSI. Okay, RSI is another popular one, so let me just remove this one over here. Click on indicator. You can basically search for RSI over here. So relative strength index, that's basically what it means. So RSI is basically where the as it says, the strength index is. So the way I used to use it, because I no longer use it, is once it's crossed, basically actually headed above over here, headed above this level over here, it basically means it's oversold, or overbought rather. It's overbought. So it's likely that the market is going to go down, okay, it's going to fall or go a bearish move. If it's here, if the RSI is here, this basically means it has been oversold. So there will be a lot of buyers sitting down over here who intend to push the market back up. So it basically means the market is going to go up. So that is how I used to use it, and that is how majority of RSI users use it to trade. Now another thing that you can do here on your chart is how to draw trend lines. Okay, if you look at on your left hand side over here, you have your tools. These are different tools that you can use. So the first one you have here is the first one is a cross, which is this. As you can see, we have our cross that is basically showing the y-axis and the x-axis, and then next you have your trend, the trend line rather. So this is where you can use your trend line. I'm assuming most of you know how to use a trend line, especially if you're coming from forex or even experienced traders. But basically how you can use it, if you've never basically seen a chart before, a trend line allows you to see where the candlesticks are touching. Okay, the tip of the candlesticks are touching. So what you're going to look for is where the market is going to cross that trend line. So you're going to start by the highest over here. Okay, you can just touch the highest over here, which is this one right over here, and I'm going to touch the tip of the highest, or the tip of the time frames, just like this. Okay, and what you want to do over here is to make sure the candlestick, as you can see, the candlestick was the trend line was already broken. So once it has been broken, it usually does a retest. Okay, if I go to the smaller time, let me go to a smaller time frame. Let me go to the 1 hour. Okay, actually let me go to a smaller time frame. Let me go to the 15 minute. Right, so the 15 minutes is going to show you more candlesticks. It's going to show you exactly where it retested. So it basically broke this time frame, okay, or it crossed this trend line rather. It crossed the trend line and came back down and retested. After the retest is where you want to usually get into a trade. So this is where most people get into a trade, okay, and then continue riding the market upwards. So as you can see, the market is still rising. So it basically means it's likely to continue rising upwards since it has already crossed this trend line on a major time frame. Okay, it's usually a strong, or you want to look at a higher time frame for a strong movement. So it was basically crossed on the 4 hour, 2 hour to 4 hour time frame, which usually indicates that the market is going to be a strong move to the upside. Okay, if the trend line was down, was broken downwards, the market would have basically headed downwards if it was on a higher time frame. So this one was broken on a higher time frame and is likely to continue upwards, and that is basically how you can use the trend line. And there are also different tools that you can use over here. Okay, here we have the Fibonacci. Now the Fibonacci is also another major tool, which is going to be in a separate video, but I want to show you just before we close how we can actually draw levels as well. Levels are very important, especially if you use them together with trend lines. So to draw a level, you can find it here. Let me see. No, it's not here. You can find it on this brush over here. So instead of clicking on the brush itself, you can click on the arrow next to the brush. Okay, the geometric shapes, and I like using the rectangle. Okay, I like using the rectangle. You can still use a straight line for your levels, but I prefer using rectangles because you can actually adjust the different thickness or the width of that level. So when it comes to using your levels, you want to look at where the market has touched the most. Okay, and there are two areas that the market normally touches. There is the support level and there is the resistance level. Okay, the support level is basically like the floor, and the resistance is the top level, which is also considered as the roof. So these are the levels that you want to look at. So for this chart over here, I want to look at where the market touched the most. Okay, so I'm basically going to just look at areas where the market touched the most. I'm going to see, I can see this one over here. So what I can do, I can go back again to my square, and I'm going to start from here. Okay, I'm going to start from here, and I'll show you exactly where I'm doing this over here again. Alright, so now as you can see, the market first touched over here, and even if you go back further, you will notice that this area was touched a lot by the market. So it touched this level over here as the resistance, okay, as the resistance level. Okay, it also touched it over here again as a resistance, but it broke it. Eventually it broke it up over here. It came back down, now touching it as a support, and it touched it multiple times, as you can see over here. Okay, it also almost broke it down and went down, but it didn't really. So this is also called a fake out. It's also considered a fake out, where the market looks like it's going down, but it's not really going down. So it went back up again, touched our level over here, our trend line rather. It came back down, broke that level again all the way down, came back again, touched it as a resistance level again, touched it twice again over here. So you can see basically what I'm saying. It has to touch it multiple times. Okay, it has to touch the level multiple times to consider it a strong level, especially on a higher time frame. Okay, so basically when it breaks this level over here, it is likely to bounce off again and retest it and continue upwards, or is basically likely to bounce off again over here on this level as a resistance and continue downwards. So let me just quickly draw it for you over here. If I get a path, okay, so it's likely to do something like this, okay, like that, and continue up, or it is likely to continue doing something like this, bounce off again, retest it, and continue downwards. All right, so that is basically the reason why you want to use trend lines and support levels and resistance levels to get the best setups, or to get the best entries rather, for your trading. Now on my next video, I'm going to show you how to use VWAP. This is one of the most important, one of the best indicators that traders use for stock options. Works really effectively, and how you can actually use the Fibonacci retracement indicator as well. So if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I will see you on the next one.